To Chris Matthews standing by with Senator Warren.
I am, and I'm lucky to have her. Senator Elizabeth Warren, I said to you off camera right now, you had an ability tonight to sort of do your thing, hold on to your position, which is rising in this polling and all the polling. You're doing really well. You're probably going to peak early next year, the way you're going, which is where you want to peak, I assume. Did you get a sense tonight that you and Bernie Sanders were the ones with an agenda to get something done, and the other candidates want to be president? But did you have a very clear, I mean, you went over it tonight, you were 95% of student loan repayments. He's for 100%. It's that intricate, the differences. You talked about health care in a way, a little different than the way he does it. He does it more ideological language. You talk about structure of the economy and power at the top, a wealth tax. The danger, I thought, that was posed by that, by the other people talking about that, I thought that Klobuchar was talking like that we got to be careful that doesn't divide the country. Too much of an ideological or too much of an agenda going into the Congress in 21 will make a country just as divided, even if it's tilting left.
I actually disagree with you.
Go with it,
Chris.
I thought that, I said to her, she said that's what she was warning about.
You know, but I think the break right now is between the wealthy and well-connected, for whom this government's working great.
Yeah.
Wow. You want to get $1.5 trillion in tax breaks? You got a government that said, let's do it and let's do it fast. You're running a business that wants to roll back environmental regulations so you can dump poison in the water and spew toxins in the air. You got a government that's working for you. This government is working great. Don't talk to me about gridlock. It's working great, but it's working for a very thin slice at the top, and everyone else is paying the price. And here's the deal. People across this country know it. I got to tell you, Chris, you know I'm out doing these town halls. I love it.
Looks like it.
The big advantage to not spending all my time behind closed doors with bazillionaires and corporate executives is I actually been to 27 states now in Puerto Rico. I've done 130 town halls. I've taken thousands of unfiltered questions. But I'll tell you something. Every time I talk about the influence of money, and I call it out for what it is, corruption, I watch people around that room go, it's not a big one. They just nod and get it. And keep in mind, I don't just go to blue states. I've been to West Virginia and Mississippi and Alabama, to Arizona and to Utah. I go a lot of places where Democrats don't go. All the way up the Midwest to Wisconsin and Michigan and to red places within those areas. And those folks get it in their bones. They know this government is not working for them.
The people that get to see senators have money.
Yes.
The people that have on the schedules for senators.
Yes.
How do you stop that?
So,
how do you stop the basic way things work in politics? People with money get in the door.
So that's what my anti-corruption bill is all about. The influence of money in Washington is huge, and the point is it's just as you identify. It's campaign contributions, but it is so much more. So I have a bill that's a big bill, biggest bill since Watergate, and it goes after the influence of money in lots of places. So, for example, it says, end lobbying as we know it. You want to be a senator, you want to be a cabinet secretary, good. But you can never become a lobbyist. You're not going to go trade on the Rolodex for the people.
Do you think that'll get through the courts?
Oh, yeah.
You think so?
Oh, look, this is not saying that people can't petition their government. What we are not obligated to do is support a multi-billion-dollar industry that sells influence. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington.
Why did you stop taking big contributions this year when you took them last year? I'm going with Eddie Rendell, the former governor of Pennsylvania. You know what he wrote in the Washington Post today? He said, you're a hypocrite because you took big money donations from people like him, although I think he gave you $4,000, he said. And now you're saying no. Is that just, what's that change of heart about?
So, look,
is it a change of heart?
I raised $19 million in small campaign contributions. And then I turned around and thought, well, I could spend it on radio and TV and so on. But instead, I gave away or raised $11 million for Democrats all around this country. for state parties, for trying to help the team. Because
But why did you shift away from taking
matters.
large donations, private donations?
Because the way I see it, I used to have an average donation of $29.
Right.
I now have an average donation of $27. But here's how I see it. When I made the decision to run for president,
Right.
I knew what I'd be fighting for, but I also knew how I wanted to fight. And I didn't want to sell access to my time. I wanted to spend it by building a grassroots campaign. And here's why. We have one comparative advantage going into November of 2020.
Right.
And that is if we build that grassroots movement and do it now. And the only way that happens is if we say we're going to spend the time with you, we're going to do this on $5 and $10 contributions, people who donate an hour, people who agree to cover the office on Tuesday mornings. It is the right way for us to run a primary campaign and to rebuild our democracy. That's our chance to do it in a primary, and I'm delighted to do it. But
Can I just ask you one last
Sure.
question? I'm getting called here.
Oh, I
Then
know.
it signals. You were very dramatic on Afghanistan, which is a big part of the topic of what we're all arguing today. What Trump's up to over there. We don't know what he's up to. Nobody does. You said, let's get out. Now, the only question is everybody said, let's get out, no ground troops. And that's a popular idea, and I understand that. How do you, at that point, stop them from re-engaging from al-Qaeda and doing again what they did in 9/11?
So-
If we pull all the troops out.
Look, we have to treat terrorism as a global problem.
Right. But
This
how
is
about
not-
in Afghanistan?
No, this is not a problem specific. We have to treat this as a global problem, and we have to acknowledge the limits of what we can accomplish with the military.
Okay.
We are not going to bomb terrorism out of existence in the mountains of Afghanistan. The way we are going to make this world safer is we need to work with our allies and to say to all of them, this is the world's responsibility, not just ours. Remember, the French, the Brits, the Japanese, the South Koreans, even the Chinese and the Russians have an interest in saying we got to stop terrorism.
So
We
you'd be
need to do
confident as
that
an American
together.
and as commander-in-chief to yank the troops out and still be confident that in that part of the world, which was what caused the hell in New York and at the Pentagon and over Pennsylvania, you'd be confident we'd be able to fight al-Qaeda in that country without having troops there?
This is not about fighting troops. It's not winning. We are not winning, and we are not making ourselves safer in Afghanistan. Like I said, it was John McCain's last trip, and McCain and I didn't always agree on where the pieces go, but we both asked over and over and over, describe to
Look,
me
I like
what
your,
winning
I like
looks
your
like.
guts. You made a very strong position. There was no,
And they couldn't do it.
chintzy around, and you took a position tonight.
And that surprises you?
I'm always impressed by gutsy decisions. Thank you
bet.
so much.
Take care.
Elizabeth Warren, again, untouched tonight. You did it tonight. Brian, she got through it again tonight.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.